Hello and welcome to another Ark Survival Ascended video. Today is a very packed day here on the Ark. As you can see, I'm back at the main base to pick up the Pteranodon. So I'm going to grab him and head back to the outpost. So I got back to the outpost and there was an Argy that I thought I might be able to get because I thought maybe it was just like flying into a rock. So I was like, well, I could get a few shots before it flies away. But then this happened, which surprised me. But I was able to get a few shots on it, and it didn't take long to realize it's actually stuck in the terrain, which was interesting. So I figured, well, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, right? Let's go ahead and knock this thing out, get it tamed, and then I have an Argy. But things didn't quite go according to plan completely, as you'll see here in a minute. I did manage to go ahead and knock it out really easily. But then that's where the real issue started to become really clear. I thought maybe once it tamed, it might, pop up outside of the terrain. So I was just like, all right, let's go for it. So eventually the Argy was tamed, and I went to go back and check on kind of what was going on and if there was really a problem that was going to be needing fixing. And sure enough, yeah, I tamed an Argy, but there's a big problem. Yeah, it's stuck in the terrain. I tried whistles, I tried pretty much everything that I could think of, and it was stuck. I mean, the rocks wouldn't break, I wasn't sure what to do. So, yeah, I tried all different angles too. It just was in the rock. It was in the cliffside. That was it. There was no getting it out. Nothing. Nothing was working. I don't know. It was a really weird glitch. So I knew potentially that this Argy may very well be never able to fly. But I didn't want to give up on it, so I went ahead and calmed it down and tried to get it to rest, and then decided it was time to go ahead and get a saddle. But that meant getting hide. So this happened. Pretty much a complete massacre of dodos all along the shoreline. Any dodos that I could see. Any of them. Things happened. Yeah. Many things happened. Including this, which may have been the worst thing of all, but I needed hide, okay? I'm sorry. The slaughter continued, but it had to be done. I needed to get an Argentava saddle. But then I may have gotten a little too ambitious with the hide gathering and got brave. I don't know why. And tried to take this guy on, which ended really, really badly. With this. Yeah. So, yeah. With that, I went home in the rain and saw a baby stego. So that was really cool. But it didn't quite help the feeling of sadness at the loss of my hatchet. With that, I turned the fire on and decided to go out in search of some drops. Some of the drops were better than others, as, I mean, you all know. This one really wasn't much to speak of, except maybe the trank arrows. Those were kind of nice. Although with the moss traps, I'm good to go on narco berries. So I went for another one and ended up getting some structures, which was really good because I needed to start getting some additional structures anyways for the outpost. The problem is that the Pteranodon just can't handle the weight. So I had to then triage what could stay and what had to go. Some tough decisions were made, but in the end, cleared enough weight, got back home. Immediately started putting the windows down to clear out inventory, or the window. So I immediately started putting structures down and continued to improve upon the outpost. I even made a ramp up to the roof where I was currently storing the Pteranodon and wanted to store pretty much all of the utility dinos that I had amassed. So this morning is when things changed. The plans changed. I saw an Anky on the shoreline. I knew that was my next dino. It was going to happen. But then when I went down to take a look at it, I realized there were not one, but two Ankys. So I took a look at both of them to decide which one would be better to go for. Ultimately, I went with this one, as it was the higher level of the two. And did a little prep work and got right into it. So with that, I ran to get more food and then fought off hyenodons, which really got me frustrated. Tried not to aggro the Argy, although you'll see here soon that didn't quite work out how I planned. So I then got the Argy a good bit away from the base and went back to check on the Anky. I was so frustrated the effectiveness had gone down so much, but still got it tamed and started breaking rocks. This is where I just got like the best feeling ever because metal was coming out of the river rocks. So not the regulars, but those rounder rocks, those are river rocks. Yeah, some pretty good metal drops. This would mean the time to get metal would go down drastically since I did not have rich metal nodes or really any metal nodes to speak of other than the river rocks. So went ahead and dumped any of the points it had into melee and increased the metal rates further, which was amazing. I got quite a bit of raw metal and just stuck that in the furnace to go. So here's where I decided I needed to go ahead and start building, but then this happened. Yeah, it froze. So then, you know what happens. It crashed. So I got back in the game, realized that I hadn't saved in a bit, so the Anky was not tamed at that point, but I did have a saddle. So I was keeping an eye on where things were, but I knew those hyenodons would be, well, a problem. So I went ahead and decided to preemptively take care of them. While I was still trying to fend them off, the Anky was tamed, but then I was immediately attacked by an Argy. Different one. And yeah, but at this point I was actually able to hop on the Anky and kill it with that. So then I finally went back to building because it had to be done, and started getting some walls and some minor expansions done to the top of this. I also finally took the moss chops up and then put the base back together again. Alright, then I spotted the drop that I had been avoiding. I decided to go ahead and go for it. So I kept checking around and I didn't see anything immediately except for this little scuffle happening up there. But I figured they were distracted enough. I could just pop in, grab whatever was in here. I'm so glad I risked it because there were thatch structures, which meant I could continue expanding the top of the outpost. So I worked on this for a bit, got a little bit more up. It was looking pretty good. Definitely not done yet, but it's something. It's a little bit. Just a little bit. See, not too bad. Definitely missing, like, you know, half the top, but it's a start. I'll probably do one more floor up above. I just need to figure out how I'm going to access everything. So at this point, I had a little more protection on the outpost, but the RG being stuck in the hill was still a problem. A pretty big problem. So then I, you know, got 2 baby moss chops. I just can't help myself with moss chops. And then I was thinking about, okay, what am I going to do with them? I have one at base, one at outpost. Now I have these 2 guys. So while I was thinking of what I was going to do, well, I didn't do it, but it happened. So then I just had the one left. I decided to go back to the base. And yeah, once I got back there, I was getting stuff settled, waiting for the moss chops to come back, and then the RG got really upset over there. Things started falling, and at first I thought maybe there's a really big predator over there, and I'm gonna lose the RG, and none of this is gonna matter. But then I saw the moss chops was there, and then that's when this happened. Yeah. The RG was finally freed. I don't know how. I mean, hey, I'm not gonna ask questions. I was just like, oh my gosh. it's free. That takes care of that. So I got it up to the outpost, tried to get it settled down, but then I realized the Moss Chops was getting attacked by a Hyaenodon. So, of course, everything got upset at that point and tried to aggro, and I tried to stop them, but I was a little too late. Everybody got out since I don't have all the walls up. And then I ran into one more issue. It's like the Argentavis and the Anky traded places. So now I had an Argy that was free without a saddle, and an Anky with a saddle that was stuck in this little crevice. I could not get it out for the life of me. So now I had another problem to deal with. At this point, I decided to go ahead and save the game since the Argy was actually free from the terrain. I figured an Anky I could deal with, the Argy not so much. I also continued to make sure I saved from this point on. I landed over by this waterfall area and then witnessed a pack of Troodons killing a Phiomia. So I've graduated from packs of raptors to packs of Troodons. I then found one of the Hyaenodons that was responsible for the death of the Moss Chops. I then decided to go ahead and get its hide, which was awesome. I was feeling pretty good after this, as I cleared 50 hide. So then I went out in search of more Hyaenodons. And I found this pack of them. I took the approach to divide and conquer, which worked out quite well, actually. It was a little bit of a bumpy start. And I realized I needed to keep an eye on the Carno in the distance. But as it turns out, the Carno ended up to not be an issue at all. And I was able to go ahead and start picking off the Hyaenodons one by one. I also was able to get some pants and shoes, which I had not been wearing at all in this video. Until now. I then finished the pack off and went back to base with a whole bunch of things, thinking I was ready to go ahead and craft the Argy saddle now that I had plenty of hide, and then I didn't have enough fiber. I hardly had any fiber, so I took the Moss Chops out for a spin on the plants. We got a little too ambitious though, and went from fiber to some thatch gathering. Yeah, it's just go big or go home, right? Alright, I was finally ready to craft the saddle, and then I realized I had absolutely slightest shortage of chitin. So the Moss Chops and I went out again, this time with everything to craft the saddle. And once we got the chitin, I was finally able to get the saddle. Alright, this is the big moment. I finally have an Argy with a saddle, and we took to the air. Isn't this awesome, guys? So this is a big game changer. The Argy has much better weight and stamina than a Pteranodon. So yeah, I mean, this is going to enable us to really go out and get metal nodes, since we don't have that much metal right at base, at the main base, and we also don't have crystal at the main base, although we do have crystal at the outpost. We can also go to drops and not do them pretty much one at a time. That's going to be big. The weight capacity is so much better, so we'll be able to gather a few drops and then go back to base, rather than with the Pteranodon where sacrifices must be made. But then I remembered I still needed to free the Anky, so went back to base and held my breath, hoping this was not disabled. And sure enough, it was not. So we were able to grab the Anky, get him out of there, and take him right up to the outpost. Alright, well that will do it for today's video. Thanks everyone for watching. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like. Also, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications when my next video goes live. I should have another video out for you guys tomorrow, in addition to some shorts coming soon. Alright, that'll do it, and we'll continue to finish out establishing outposts, getting the rest of the structures up, but that'll be in my next video. Thank you, everyone.